Okay, class, welcome to part two of the 1.1e lesson. Uh, on this page is full of very, very good practice problems on inequalities. I'm going to go ahead and do maybe two or three of them, and I've chosen 13, 15, and 16. Just a reminder, class, it is important that you do not feel intimidated by some of these more challenging looking questions. Just work slowly, follow what you know, follow the first step that you always use. And I really, really do think that this is not going to be um, that difficult if you just pace yourself and follow what you've been doing all year. Okay, so for number 13, I immediately am going to distribute the 2 because we know it's outside of the group. And I get 2 minus x plus x is greater than negative 8, right? Because 2 times negative 1 half is actually a negative 1. And what's really, really interesting about this one is you can see how there's a negative x and there's an x right next to each other. So they actually cancel, and I get a statement that says 2 is greater than negative 8. So that's weird because 2 is always greater than negative 8, right? So I could actually plug in anything I want into x. I can plug in 0, I can plug in 10, I can plug in negative 50, and every single value for x is always going to work because the x is canceled. So it really doesn't matter what you plug in because they're just going to cancel themselves. And for this reason, this is a weird situation, but this is a true statement, and this will always be true. And because this is a true statement, the entire number line is shaded, right? Sometimes we see the phrase infinitely many solutions, which just simply means, class, that you can plug in anything you want for x and it will work. It will be a true statement. Okay, so that was an interesting one right off the bat. Let's try number 15. And again, it looks intimidating. There's fractions everywhere, but I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm just going to follow what I know, which is probably distribute as your first step. Don't forget that you have to distribute the negative. And then just see if you can clear some fractions somehow, right? So I get 1/5 n plus 2, right? 1/5 times 10 is 2. And then you get a negative n with a positive 3/5 because of the negative outside. So this is less than or equal to negative 3. Okay, so the good news is we have denominators that are the same. They both have a 5. So I'm going to use my 5 hammer and hit every term with the 5 multiplier, right? And every single term gets affected. That's the only way that this is fair. And you end up getting n, right, which is very good to see, plus 10, minus 5n plus 3. This is less than or equal to negative 15. Okay, so now combine like terms on the left side. You get n and negative 5n. I always do the variables first. And n and negative 5n is negative 4n. 10 plus 3 is 13. And you get less than or equal to negative 15. Okay, so this is a two-step equation, or inequality, I should say. It's very similar to the two-step equation. But you have to remember about the inequality rule, right? If you ever divide by a negative, you know that you have to flip the inequality sign. And this is a perfect example of what you have to do at the end, final step, right? You divide both sides by negative 4, and you end up getting n is greater or equal to a positive 7. Okay, so gotta be really, really careful. I really think this whole module, you have to be careful with your distributing. You have to know how to multiply fractions with whole numbers, and then just kind of practice, right? We've been practicing quite a while recently. So I hope you're feeling more comfortable with this closed circle because there's a line under. The variable is on the left, so I can follow the arrow, and the arrow is pointing to the right. Nice. Okay, let's try 16. Again, it looks long, but it really, as you do this more often, maybe you'll see that each problem takes about a minute or two. Now, the one thing I want to remind the class and for all students is you don't want to work so fast that you actually end up making a mistake, right? Going back and trying to determine what mistake you made is probably the most time consuming thing you can do. So you always want to be careful, and I would work a little bit slower if you feel more comfortable and you're more careful that way, right? Even me as a teacher, sometimes I make mistakes, and it's not the best time to go back and fix, right? So, whoa, what are you noticing for this one? You see that there's a 9a, there's a 3a, that's 12a, and then 12a with the negative 12a cancel, right? So these all cancel, and you end up with 3 plus negative 8, which is negative 5, and you're trying to decide, wait a minute, is negative 5 greater than 7? So in 13, we saw a statement that was always true. So this is a true statement. So it was infinitely many solutions. If you're given a statement where the variables cancel on the same side, right? And you're given a statement of negative 5 is greater than 7, well, this is a false statement, right? This is never true. Negative 5 will never be greater than 7. So for that reason, there is nothing you can plug in to X to make it true. This is no solution. Okay, so this page showed us many examples, many good examples. I thought 13, 16 were great examples of when something is infinitely many and when something is no solution. And then 15 was just a age-old fundamental question on how to solve inequalities and remembering to flip the inequality when you divide by a negative. Okay. All right, let's try one more problem. Let's make it a word problem. Which one shall we try? All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and just try maybe let's try number 18. Okay. So it says Andy earns $75,000 per year and receives 10% commission on his sales. How much money in sales must Andy make in order to earn at least 80,000? Right from the start, we need to remind ourselves that at least means greater or equal to, right? At least means I can have this number that you're talking about right here, but I can also have greater than that. So you need to be comfortable, right? And I'll even write the rest. At most, in this case, this is not the case of at most, but at most would mean less than or equal to. Okay, and there's a lot of other ways to say at least, like minimum or no less than, but just remember, have this on the side. And Andy earns 75,000 per year, so he already has a base salary of 75,000 per year. He also gets 10% commission on his sales. Remember that commission is basically an extra bonus, or it's pay for how many products or how many items you sell. An example of that is if you're a car salesman and you sell a lot of cars, maybe there is commission for you, right? If you sell property and you sell houses, you can earn a certain percentage of the property value as commission. So it's really, really good for the jobs that have commission, right? So let's first say X, let's classify X on his total sales, right? We don't know his total sales, so it's total amount of sales. That's kind of what we're solving for, right? How much money does he have to have in sales in order to earn basically, essentially $5,000 or more, right? He already makes 75, and he wants to make 80,000. So what I would do is, since he already makes 75,000, we then add this 0.10, which is 10% of X, because X is his total amount of sales, and he wants this to be at least 80,000. Right? That's our inequality. So really, when your parents hear this, or adults that are comfortable with this type of calculation, they already know, oh, you make 75,000, you just are trying to make 5,000 in commission then, basically. It's a fancy way of saying how to make $5,000 in commission, right? And if you make 10% commission and you want 5,000, well, guess how much you're going to have to sell, right? 0.10, and I'm going to go ahead and write that as, another way to write it is 1/10 x, right? 0.10x and 1/10 x are exactly the same. And then I'm going to multiply both sides by 10, and I end up getting x has to be, oh, by the way, I forgot to write the equal sign. X has to be greater or equal to 50,000, right? So you would say, I'm going to write this on the top. Andy must sell at least $50,000 worth in sales, right? You want to earn $5,000? You need to sell $50,000 in merchandise. It can be easy. I don't know how hard that is for his job. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this video. Solving inequalities really is not that bad. You just have to remember a few more things, and it can be just as simple as solving equations. Thanks for watching.